Now, to try and explain ZX, this is going to sound odd, but stay with me. Essentially, it's based around these items or MacGuffins or whatever you want to call them, named Biometal. And essentially, Biometal is this kind of conscious entity which can be held in the palm of your hand, which essentially contains all the knowledge, memories, and in some cases personality of characters from the Zero series, and allows the user to gain the powers and armor of those characters. In other words, it's Mega Man crossed with Power Rangers.
Okay, that sounds oddly redundant to me somehow.
Yeah, it's basically Mega Man but with the ability to transform into other characters, which is... I found the concept ridiculously awesome, which is why it's the first Mega Man incarnation other than the classic series I've tried since then. And yeah, I played the original ZX and I enjoyed it, which is why I went on to this game. In fact, I enjoyed it so much. After I'm done with Minish Cap, it's one of the possible candidates for my next playthrough.
Oh, wow.
So that's a possible thing to look forward to. And I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. In terms of gameplay, with all of these advanced features, that I can tell you that ever since the old primitive days of the Mega Man Classic series, Mega Man has come a long way. So far, in fact, that it's used exactly the same formula.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you're going into this expecting something radically different, not really. I mean, there are a few differences, obviously, but essentially, there are many different levels you can play in any order. Each one contains a boss for you to fight, and once you beat that boss, you get its powers. The only difference is, unlike in the classic series where you could get one of its weapons, in Mega Man ZX you get to literally transform into said boss. And I don't just mean gain its power like in the original ZX, I mean literally transform into the boss. Same sprite, same voice actors, same series of attacks and all. And it is awesome, I must...
Oh, wow. That is actually extremely unique.
Yeah. And considering like one of the bosses, this like gigantic dinosaur crocodile thing that practically with some devastating attacks, yeah, it's pretty fun to control them, I must say. So
that I can only imagine. That just sounds crazy awesome to use a TV trope.
Indeed, the only slight drawback is that some bosses, they don't really work very well in certain combat situations. Like Ned Crocodile, whose name is Bifrost for the record. It's or is it Bifrost? I can never get that pronunciation right. But anyway, it's a terrifying beast and its attacks cause devastating damage. The only problem is it's not designed for platforming, to say the least.
Given the fact that it's a gigantic dinosaur, I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's slow, it can barely fit into any spaces, so it's pretty much more of a just destroy anything in your way kind of...
Yeah, I can imagine it as that kind of boss you transform into that you don't feel like fighting the boss at the end of the level, so you just step on him. Yeah,
pretty... kind of, yeah. You just have to be careful it's not one of the bosses that are very nimble and jump around, otherwise you're in big trouble. But yeah, but frankly, there are some bosses that are nimble and jump around, which you can transform into as well. But yeah, I said, like the other Mega Man games, certain bosses are weak to certain things, and you can challenge them in any order. The only difference to said formula is that in ZX you have to actually find the opening to said level. And for those of you who have played the original ZX, it's improved somewhat since you don't have to walk quite as far to find the opening of the level, and they've introduced this transportation system, which means you can easily skip from one point to another without having to go through the whole thing, which, trust me, this saves you a lot of time.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Also, they have introduced a beginner mode, which is kind of a blessing because, let me tell you, one thing that also hasn't changed over the years in Mega Man is the difficulty.
Oh, it's kind of like that Fallout tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. If anything, they've used the advanced gameplay to make things a lot harder. In fact, like, there was one quote from a walkthrough and Game FAQs who put it at their best. They were kind of adding a general Q&A of why can't I defeat this boss with your strategy. Many of the boss battles in this game demand that you be incredibly quick with your reflexes. If you're not quick enough to react, it doesn't matter what strategy you use, you're going to die.
That's blunt.
Yeah. It's as the thing with EX, the boss battles you can eventually adjust to them, but they are the sort of thing where you will be constantly going, oh, crap, 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 dodge, dodge, oh my god, the spikes, dodge, jump, no, shoot, 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 shoot.
Oh, I know that kind of game well. I used to play them all the time.
Yeah, definitely. It's always that fun. So, if you've played Mega Man before, you know what to expect. The new features, like I've said, they've explored the world. Also, another thing that's unique to the ZX series alone for some reason is that you get a choice between two characters you control. Because like I said, obviously, you start off with like one basic character who doesn't have the Mega Man powers, so one's male, the other's female. It's kind of interesting in touch, and for the record, I've nearly always chosen the female character just because I've played as Mega Man for a long, long time now. I'd like a slight change of pace, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's extremely understandable.
Yeah. This time...
like it would be nice to play as someone different in Zelda. Anyway.
Yeah, actually it's a feature that really would work well in Zelda, but anyway, we're getting off the topic.
Yeah.
In the original, the two characters were named Vent and Ali, and they were pretty much clones of each other, as one was male, one was female, and some of the dialogue was changed in their stories. In ZX Advent, they've done a bit more to make their characters a bit more distinct, and to be honest, having played through both of the games on beginner mode, I'm moving on normal mode pretty soon.
God help you.
Yeah. I would... apparently there's an expert mode as well, which is really terrifying me.
Oh lord.
Yeah. At the moment, I would have to say, in terms of character, I prefer the girl who... You can either pronounce it Ashe or Ash, I've no idea. It's spelled A-S-H-E. I don't know how you...
Oh, yeah. Ashe. I know that name well.
Yeah.
Long story.
I would say too, I would definitely prefer Ashe, but mostly because... To compare the two personalities, Ashley is like really lively, energetic, and confident, and she's like a well-trained hunter who just wants to be famous. Whilst Gray, he kind of has the generic story of waking up in a capsule and not knowing who he is. So he just basically goes around going, who am I? I need to find out the answers to who I am. Thank you for saving me, by the way. You know what? I think I'll be nice and help people.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very interesting at all.
Yeah, he's kind of bland, but...
His name's kind of fitting, Gray.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a good point. Oh dear. But yeah, those two characters are interesting, and it also leads to the story, because as Mega Man games progressed, they got a bit more story intense, but for those of you who aren't interested in that, as I found out purely by accident, you can best start to skip the cutscenes, which meant I accidentally missed out a large chunk of the story by doing that, but never mind. Thankfully, that section is the same with both characters, but... there is a kind of big overarching story, but I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. The story is okay. It's not really bad, but essentially the story is there's a big bad who's trying to get the energy for his ultimate weapon, and to do this he's making Mega Man fight each other, etc. Mega Man in this universe is the term for anyone who can use a biometal, for the record. And the whole story, it focuses a lot on foreshadowing. It spends the entire time going, "Ooh, you are only a part of this game. The game of destiny! Maybe if you understood the truth, you would give in to despair once you realized what you really are. Oh, don't you understand? If we get this, it'll be the spark of a new world, for it's the only way we can prolong mankind's evolution. For we are all pawns in his plan, his game, his..." And it's like, oh god, I get it. Well, you just get to the reveal. You've hyped it up so much, it can't possibly be worth it.
So basically, it's about as subtle as a nuclear explosion.
Well, it's not even so much subtlety. It's kind of like what we vaguely mentioned with Bleach the last time. It spends so much time being cryptic and giving hints that you're just thinking, for goodness sake, just actually tell us what's going on already, you know? And given that essentially it's building up to the fact that the villain has a generic plan of destroying the world and then creating a new one in its place, it really isn't worth all the build-up, which is annoying because there's potential to work with otherwise if they had just worked on that, but no, instead they decided that trying to hide the fact that the villain was trying to kill everything isn't good enough.
Wow, that is so incredibly not worth it. They built up enough pressure in the cutscenes to blow up a house with all the windows open, and then they just revealed that the villain's plan is generic world destruction and building his own. That's
Pretty
just...
much.
that's not worth it at all.
Don't get me wrong, the story's not bad, but it could have been better. That's all I'm saying. So, it's okay. And actually, another interesting element is that it actually has anime cutscenes, which is a surprise for the DS, and it also has voice acting, up to a point. See, the American version, you get all full voice acting. Every single important cutscene has voices, which is definitely an improvement on the original ZX, because, to be blunt, in ZX, they were so lazy, they just got Japanese with subtitles, which I just thought was, ugh.
Yeah, that's painfully lazy.
Yeah, so in ZX was an improvement, and when I found out they had voice acting, I thought, okay, yeah, definitely, I need to get this now. Only to find out that, for some reason, in the European version, they removed all the voice acting, save for the anime cutscenes and battle grunts. Otherwise, you're buggered.
The bastards.
Yeah. So yay, once again, us Europeans have been screwed out of another feature, not that I'm bitter or anything.
First Namco, then Capcom. I'm speechless.
Yeah. In its defense, some people may not think of that as a bad thing, because, how can I put this? I wouldn't say it's the worst voice acting I've ever heard, but some people really dislike it. It's not professional, I'll say that much. Don't expect any big names in this. From what I've heard, because after finding out I was getting gypped from the voice acting, I hunted down clips of the American footage. I didn't care they were bad quality, I just wanted to hear what the American voice actors sound like in cutscenes, and I have to say, it's iffy. It's kind of like how we used to be when we were voice acting. Not terrible exactly, but you could tell from the performances that there are certain lines that could have been done better. I mean, from what I've heard, some of the voices don't work right. Some of them do though, like Ashay's voice actor, who for some reason is just credited as Mayor. No surname, just Mayor.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't say she's bad in the slightest, it's just that there are actually some lines that there are actually the lines where she gets the emotion really well, and in terms of screaming, compared to Grey, she puts a lot more energy into it. So, and we say there's like one of the anime cutscenes is essentially where they're screaming the villain's name and shooting wildly at them, and comparing the two, she definitely puts a lot more energy into it. But there are also some lines which just kind of iffy, so that it's hit and miss basically. There are some lines where she's good, and some lines where it's not bad, but it just feels like she's not 100% sure what she's supposed to be doing with the line, is that?
Yeah, not sure of the direction.
Yeah,
basically.
That's pretty much the best way I can think of it. It's just some lines which just sound a bit awkward a little bit rather than... Of course, there are some of the bosses who only really have a few lines anyway, so the guys are focused more on character voices rather than actual performance, so it's not really that good. I wouldn't say it's the best voice acting, but it's certainly not the worst, and I'm definitely glad that they actually bothered to at least try this time, rather.
At least in the American version, because the people who do the overseas releases are bastards.
Yeah, overall, Mega Man ZX, if you've played a Mega Man game before, you know what to expect, and I would honestly say it's a good game. It's got a decent level of challenge. I mean, it's not perfect by any means. The story is okay, not great. The voice acting, your mileage may vary, to quote TV tropes, but I'd say it's definitely worth a look. If you got some money and you feel like playing a Mega Man game, it's definitely worth a try. And ZX Advent definitely does fix any of the flaws the original had.
Fair enough then. Sounds actually pretty interesting to me, the whole transforming into... Especially the transforming into bosses. I just picture that giant dinosaur just walking on everything it sees. Just squishing all the bosses, even though I know that cannot be true.
Yeah, it would. It'd be awesome if it did. Actually, speaking of one thing, to quickly explain, as we all know, in Japan, Mega Man's known as Rockman. In everywhere else, he's known as Mega Man. And because of that, like pretty much every single Japanese thing that transforms, you have to shout out the special phrase whenever you activate the Morphin, like Beautiful Joe's Henshin and Go-Go Baby, or in Kamen Rider they just yell Henshin, which means transform, or in the case of Power Rangers it's morphing time. In the American version too, keep in line with the fact that it's called Mega Man, whenever the characters need to transform, they shout out Mega Merge, which is okay as a term. It's kind of easy, but it works, but honestly, I prefer the original Japanese version just because it is so ridiculous, it's awesome. In the original Japanese version, whenever someone was about to transform and go into a fight, they would yell, "I'm 100% serious, rock on."
Oh, that's like Donkey Kong skating down a suspension bridge. So
Yeah.
stupid, it's awesome.
I just love the idea of just someone walking into a battlefield yelling "rock on" and then kicking ass. That's just...
It's that sort of, again, crazy awesome. That's the best term for it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I would say against the English version's favour, that you cannot beat "rock on" as a catchphrase.
You really can't. There's no argument against that.
In fact, rather hilariously, the tagline of the original ZX when it was released in trailers is,
"Whatever fate must be still up to, you must rock on."
that's just what
That's just awesome.
Indeed.